A devoted husband from a quiet Colorado suburb was brutally attacked during his regular morning jog, fighting for his life in intensive care, while his wife wept at his bedside. But just 3 weeks later, she walks down the aisle with a convicted felon, and what investigators discover about their connection will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and the devastating lengths people will go to for money. The morning of April 15th began like any other Tuesday in the peaceful neighborhood of Willowbrook, Colorado. Birds chirped in the oak trees lining Riverside Drive, and the mountain air carried the fresh scent of spring. Marcus Thompson, a 34-year-old accountant with kind brown eyes and a warm smile, laced up his running shoes just as the sun painted the sky in soft pastels. His wife Rebecca stood at the kitchen window, watching him stretch against their white picket fence. "Be careful out there, honey," she called through the open window, her voice carrying just the right amount of concern that any loving wife would have. Marcus turned and waved, his wedding ring catching the morning light. "Always am, sweetheart. See you in an hour." Those would be the last normal words exchanged between them. Marcus and Rebecca Thompson appeared to be the perfect couple to everyone who knew them. Married for 6 years, they had built what seemed like an ideal life in their modest 2-bedroom home on Elm Street. Marcus worked as a senior accountant at a local firm, known for his meticulous attention to detail and genuine kindness toward colleagues. Rebecca, 29 with blonde hair and blue eyes, worked part-time at a veterinary clinic and spent her afternoons volunteering at the local animal shelter. Their neighbors often commented on how devoted they seemed to each other. Marcus would surprise Rebecca with flowers every Friday, and she would pack elaborate lunches for his work trips. They hosted backyard barbecues, where Rebecca's laughter would float over the fence, and Marcus would tell stories that had everyone doubled over with amusement. But beneath this picture-perfect surface, Rebecca harbored secrets that would soon shatter not just her marriage, but the entire community's faith in love itself. 3 months before that fateful April morning, Rebecca had begun receiving visits from Vincent Cruz, a 36-year-old man with a criminal record spanning back 15 years. Vincent had served time for armed robbery, assault, and fraud. His latest release from Colorado State Penitentiary had occurred just 4 months earlier, and officially he was working at a construction company downtown, while staying in a halfway house across town. What the community did not know was that Rebecca and Vincent had been corresponding for over 2 years while he was incarcerated. What began as a pen-pal relationship through a prisoner correspondence program had evolved into something far more calculated and dangerous. Their letters, which investigators would later discover, revealed a methodical plan that would make even seasoned detectives shake their heads in disbelief. Rebecca had been careful to hide these visits from Marcus. She would tell her husband she was working late at the clinic, or visiting her sister in Denver. In reality, she was meeting Vincent at coffee shops on the other side of town, where they would sit in corner booths and speak in hushed tones about their future together. Marcus, trusting and devoted, never questioned his wife's explanations. He had always believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt, a quality that made him beloved by friends and colleagues, but would ultimately make him vulnerable to the worst kind of betrayal. The couple had recently increased Marcus's life insurance policy to $500,000. Rebecca had suggested it during tax season, claiming they needed better financial protection now that they were thinking about starting a family. Marcus, practical and responsible, had agreed immediately. He wanted nothing more than to provide security for the family they hoped to build together. Marcus's morning routine never varied. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, he would leave the house at exactly 6:30 in the morning for a 5-mile run through the neighborhood and along the nearby Riverside Trail. The route took him past the elementary school, through the park where families brought their children to play, and along the creek that babbled peacefully through the heart of Willowbrook. On this particular Tuesday morning, Marcus felt especially energetic. He had closed a challenging account the day before, and Rebecca had surprised him with his favorite dinner to celebrate. As he jogged past the familiar landmarks, he waved to Mr. Peterson, who was already tending to his prize-winning roses, and nodded to the mail carrier beginning her morning route. The attack happened at exactly 7:15 in the morning, according to witnesses who heard the commotion. Marcus was running along a secluded section of the trail, where thick bushes created a natural corridor. It was here that Vincent Cruz emerged from the undergrowth, wielding a metal pipe with deadly intent. The first blow caught Marcus across the shoulders, sending him stumbling forward onto the gravel path. Confused and disoriented, he tried to turn around to see his attacker, but Vincent struck again, this time across Marcus's head. The sound echoed through the morning air, like a gunshot. "Help! Someone help!" Marcus managed to cry out before the third blow sent him to the ground, blood streaming from wounds on his scalp and face. Vincent continued the assault with brutal efficiency, striking Marcus's legs, ribs, and arms. The attack lasted less than 3 minutes, but those minutes would change multiple lives forever. Vincent had intended to kill Marcus quickly and leave his body to be discovered hours later, making it appear like a random violent crime. But Marcus Thompson was stronger than anyone had anticipated. Dr. Patricia Wells was walking her golden retriever when she heard the screams. A retired emergency room physician, she immediately ran toward the sound and found Marcus lying motionless on the trail, his body battered and covered in blood. Vincent had already fled the scene, disappearing back into the brush and making his way to a stolen motorcycle he had hidden nearby. Dr. Wells immediately called 911 while checking Marcus's vital signs. "I have a male victim, approximately 35 years old, multiple trauma wounds to the head and body," she reported to the dispatcher, her medical training taking over despite the shocking scene before her. The paramedics arrived within 8 minutes, followed closely by police officers, who immediately began securing the scene. Marcus was unconscious but breathing, his pulse weak but steady. As they loaded him into the ambulance, Dr. Wells provided the crucial information that would help save his life. "Head trauma, possible internal bleeding, but his airways are clear," she told the lead paramedic. "He is a fighter." At Willowbrook General Hospital, trauma surgeons worked for 6 hours to save Marcus's life. He had suffered a severe concussion, 3 broken ribs, a fractured arm, and internal bleeding that required immediate surgery. The doctors were amazed he had survived such a vicious attack. Rebecca arrived at the hospital within minutes of being notified, her face pale with what appeared to be genuine shock and terror. She collapsed into a chair in the waiting room, sobbing uncontrollably as nurses tried to comfort her. "Is he going to be okay?" she asked Dr. Michael Rodriguez, the lead surgeon, when he emerged from the operating room hours later. "He is stable, but the next 48 hours are critical," Dr. Rodriguez explained gently. "He has suffered significant trauma, but he is responding well to treatment. Your husband is remarkably strong." Rebecca spent the next 3 days at Marcus's bedside, holding his hand and whispering encouragement as he drifted in and out of consciousness. To everyone watching, she appeared to be the perfect devoted wife, devastated by her husband's condition and praying for his recovery. Detective Lisa Chang had been investigating violent crimes in Willowbrook for 12 years, and something about this attack troubled her from the very beginning. The brutality seemed personal rather than random, and the location suggested someone familiar with Marcus's routine. "Mrs. Thompson, I know this is difficult, but I need to ask you some questions about your husband's habits and any potential threats he might have received," Detective Chang said gently as she sat across from Rebecca in the hospital family lounge. Rebecca dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "Marcus does not have any enemies. Everyone loves him. He would never hurt anyone, and I cannot imagine why someone would do this to him. Has he mentioned feeling followed or receiving any strange phone calls or messages recently?" "No, nothing like that. He is the most wonderful man. He volunteers at the soup kitchen on weekends, helps elderly neighbors with their groceries." "This makes no sense." Detective Chang noticed that Rebecca seemed nervous, fidgeting with her wedding ring and avoiding direct eye contact. While grief could certainly explain these behaviors, her investigative instincts suggested there might be more to explore. The crime scene investigation had yielded limited evidence. The metal pipe used in the attack was found in nearby bushes, wiped clean of fingerprints. However, investigators did find partial footprint impressions in the soft earth near the trail, suggesting work boots with a distinctive tread pattern. As word of the attack spread through the community, residents were shocked and frightened. Willowbrook had always been considered one of the safest neighborhoods in the county, where children rode their bicycles freely and residents left their doors unlocked. The brutal assault on Marcus Thompson shattered that sense of security. Local news stations picked up the story, interviewing neighbors who described Marcus as a pillar of the community. His co-workers at the accounting firm established a fund to help with medical expenses, and the animal shelter where Rebecca volunteered organized a prayer vigil. "Marcus is the kind of person who would give you the shirt off his back," said David Kumar, Marcus's supervisor at the accounting firm. "If someone did this to him, it was not because of anything he did. He does not have a mean bone in his body." But as Detective Chang dug deeper into the investigation, inconsistencies began to emerge. Security cameras from businesses along Marcus's usual route showed him running alone that morning, but they also captured a figure in dark clothing moving through the area approximately 30 minutes before the attack. The figure was too distant to identify clearly, but the person appeared to be surveying the trail, almost as if they were familiar with the location and timing. This suggested premeditation rather than a crime of opportunity. Detective Cheng also discovered that Rebecca had made several phone calls in the days leading up to the attack, but she had been evasive when asked about them during questioning. "I was just calling family members to update them on Marcus's condition," Rebecca had explained when pressed about the calls. However, phone records would later reveal a different truth entirely. Marcus remained in intensive care for 2 weeks, gradually improving but still facing a long road to recovery. The doctors were optimistic about his chances, though they warned that he would likely suffer some permanent effects from the head trauma. It was during Marcus's 3rd week in the hospital that Rebecca made an announcement that stunned everyone who knew her. She was getting married. The news came first to Rebecca's sister, Diana, during what Diana thought would be a routine check-in about Marcus's condition. "Rebecca, I have been trying to reach you for 2 days. How is Marcus doing?" Diana asked, when she finally connected with her sister by phone. "He is improving," Rebecca replied, her voice strangely distant. "But Diana, I have something to tell you. I am getting married this weekend." There was a long silence before Diana found her voice. "What are you talking about? You are already married. To Marcus, who is lying in a hospital bed fighting for his life." "I am divorcing Marcus," Rebecca said matter-of-factly. "I have met someone else, and we are going to be together. The wedding is Saturday afternoon." Diana was so shocked, she nearly dropped the phone. "Rebecca, what is wrong with you? Have you lost your mind? Marcus almost died. He needs you now, more than ever." "I cannot live this lie anymore," Rebecca continued, as if she had rehearsed the words. "I have found real love, and I deserve to be happy." The conversation ended with Diana screaming into the phone, but Rebecca had already hung up. Word of Rebecca's planned remarriage spread through Willowbrook like wildfire. Friends and neighbors could not believe what they were hearing. The woman who had spent 3 weeks crying at her husband's bedside was now planning to marry someone else, while Marcus was still fighting to recover from his injuries. The groom-to-be was Vincent Cruz, the ex-convict who had supposedly never met Rebecca before Marcus's attack. Rebecca had somehow managed to file for an emergency divorce, claiming irreconcilable differences and abandonment, despite the fact that Marcus was unconscious in a hospital bed. The wedding took place at a small chapel across town, with no friends or family in attendance. Rebecca wore a simple white dress, and Vincent appeared in an ill-fitting suit that he had clearly borrowed. The ceremony lasted less than 10 minutes. Officiated by a justice of the peace, who later admitted he had felt uncomfortable about the entire situation. Photographs from the wedding, which surfaced during the investigation, showed Rebecca smiling broadly, while Vincent maintained a serious expression. To anyone looking at the images, it was clear this was not a typical celebration of love and commitment. The community's reaction was swift and brutal. Rebecca's friends felt betrayed and disgusted. Her family disowned her, and she was fired from her job at the veterinary clinic. But none of this seemed to affect her resolve. She acted like she did not care what anyone thought, recalled Janet Morrison, who had been Rebecca's close friend for over 5 years. "It was like she had become a completely different person overnight. The Rebecca I knew would never have abandoned Marcus when he needed her most." Detective Chang, meanwhile, was watching these developments with great interest. The timing of Rebecca's remarriage, combined with the questions that had already emerged during the investigation, convinced her that there was much more to this case than a random violent crime. The breakthrough in the case came when Detective Chang decided to investigate Vincent Cruz's background more thoroughly. What she discovered would unravel a conspiracy that had been months in the making. Phone records revealed that Rebecca and Vincent had been in contact for over 2 years, long before Marcus's attack. The frequency of their communications had increased dramatically in the weeks leading up to the assault, with multiple calls occurring daily. But it was the content of their correspondence that truly shocked investigators. During a search of Vincent's apartment, police discovered a box hidden under his bed containing dozens of letters from Rebecca, along with detailed maps of Marcus's jogging routes, photographs of their house, and copies of Marcus's life insurance policies. The letters painted a picture of a calculated plan to murder Marcus and collect the insurance money. Rebecca had provided Vincent with Marcus's schedule, his physical description, and even suggestions about the best locations for an attack. "My husband leaves every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at exactly 6:30 in the morning," one letter read. "He always takes the same route. If you position yourself near the bend by the creek, you will have plenty of time and privacy." Another letter revealed the financial motivation. "The policy is for $500,000. Once he is gone, and the money comes through, we can start our new life together." But perhaps most damning was a letter Rebecca had written just days before the attack. "I cannot wait much longer. I am tired of pretending to love him. When this is over, we will finally be free." Detective Chang also discovered that Rebecca had been researching how long insurance companies typically took to process death claims, and she had even contacted a real estate agent about selling the house. The evidence was overwhelming, but investigators faced one major problem. Marcus was still alive. This crucial detail had apparently caught Rebecca and Vincent off guard. Their plan had assumed Marcus would die from his injuries, allowing Rebecca to collect the insurance money as his grieving widow. When he survived, they had to improvise, leading to the hasty remarriage that had raised so many red flags. During questioning, Vincent initially maintained his innocence, but when presented with the letters and phone records, he quickly agreed to cooperate with authorities in exchange for a plea deal. "She planned the whole thing," Vincent told investigators during a recorded interview. "She said her husband was worth more dead than alive, and she promised me half the insurance money if I helped her. I was supposed to make it look like a robbery gone wrong." Vincent revealed that Rebecca had been manipulating him for years, using their correspondence to gradually draw him into her scheme. She had promised him not just money, but a life together once Marcus was out of the picture. "She told me she loved me, and that we could build a future together," Vincent continued. "But looking back, I think she was just using me to do her dirty work. She never really cared about me." The investigation also revealed that Rebecca had been forging Marcus's signature on various documents, including an updated will that would have left everything to her in the event of his death. Meanwhile, Marcus was making remarkable progress in his recovery. While he still suffered from some memory issues related to his head injury, he was able to walk with assistance and was scheduled to be released from the hospital within the week. When Detective Chang informed him about his wife's remarriage and the conspiracy behind his attack, Marcus's reaction was one of profound sadness rather than anger. "I trusted her completely," he said quietly, staring out the hospital window. "I cannot believe she wanted me dead. All those years together, was any of it real?" The arrest of Rebecca and Vincent made national headlines, with many people struggling to understand how someone could plot to murder their spouse for money. The case became a cautionary tale about trust, greed, and the importance of truly knowing the people closest to us. Rebecca was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, insurance fraud, and bigamy. Despite overwhelming evidence, she maintained her innocence throughout the trial, claiming that Vincent had acted alone and that she had only married him because she was emotionally vulnerable after her husband's attack. The jury did not believe her testimony. After deliberating for less than 4 hours, they found her guilty on all charges. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Vincent, who had cooperated with authorities and testified against Rebecca, received a sentence of 15 years for his role in the attack. During his sentencing hearing, he expressed remorse for his actions and apologized directly to Marcus. "I know saying sorry does not undo what I did," Vincent said, his voice breaking. "But I want you to know that I regret every moment of this. You did not deserve what happened to you." Marcus's recovery continued to exceed all medical expectations. Within 6 months of the attack, he was able to return to work part-time. His physical injuries healed well, though he continued to experience occasional headaches and had some permanent hearing loss in his left ear. The emotional healing proved more challenging. Marcus struggled with trust issues and depression as he processed the betrayal by the woman he had loved and planned to build a life with. However, he found strength in the support of his community and the realization that he had been given a second chance at life. "I could spend the rest of my life being angry and bitter about what Rebecca did," Marcus reflected during an interview 6 months after the attack. "But that would be letting her win. She took 6 years of my life, but she does not get to take the rest of it." Marcus became an advocate for other crime victims, working with local support groups and speaking at community events about resilience and recovery. His positive attitude and determination to move forward inspired many people who heard his story. The case also led to changes in insurance policies and procedures. Many companies now require additional verification and waiting periods before processing large claims, especially in cases involving sudden death or unusual circumstances. Diana, Rebecca's sister, played a crucial role in helping Marcus heal. She had been horrified by her sister's actions and made it her mission to support Marcus during his recovery. "Rebecca may have been my sister, but what she did was unforgivable," Diana said. "Marcus is family to me, and I want to make sure he knows that not everyone in Rebecca's life was capable of such evil." The community of Willowbrook also rallied around Marcus in extraordinary ways. His neighbors organized meal trains during his recovery, his co-workers covered his projects at the accounting firm, and the animal shelter where Rebecca had volunteered established a fund in Marcus's name to help other crime victims. Perhaps most importantly, Marcus's story became a testament to the power of human resilience and the importance of surrounding ourselves with genuine relationships built on trust and mutual respect. "I learned that you cannot really know someone's heart," Marcus said during a television interview that aired 1 year after the attack. "But I also learned that there are far more good people in this world than bad ones." The love and support I received from my community proved that. Marcus eventually began dating again, though he admitted it took time to learn to trust. He met Catherine, a nurse who had helped care for him during his recovery, and their relationship blossomed slowly and naturally. They married 2 years after his attack, in a ceremony surrounded by the friends and family who had supported him through the darkest period of his life. The case of Rebecca Thompson serves as a stark reminder that sometimes the greatest dangers come from those closest to us. But it also demonstrates that the human spirit is remarkably resilient, and that with the right support system, it is possible to overcome even the most devastating betrayals. Marcus's journey from victim to survivor to advocate shows that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can choose how we respond. His decision to focus on healing and helping others, rather than dwelling on anger and revenge, has inspired countless people who have faced their own challenges and setbacks. Today, Marcus continues to work as an accountant, volunteers at the soup kitchen every weekend, and speaks regularly at events for crime victims and their families. His message is simple, but powerful. No matter how dark things may seem, there is always hope for a better tomorrow. What happened to Marcus Thompson could have been a tragedy that ended in death and destruction. Instead, it became a story of survival, justice, and the triumph of the human spirit over evil. It reminds us all to cherish the genuine relationships in our lives, while remaining vigilant about those who might seek to harm us. The scars from that terrible morning in April will always remain, but they have become symbols of strength rather than reminders of weakness. Marcus Thompson survived not just a brutal physical attack, but the complete betrayal of trust by someone he loved. His recovery and transformation prove that it is possible to rebuild a life even after it has been shattered by those we trusted most. If you found Marcus's incredible journey of survival and resilience as moving as we did, please consider subscribing to True Crime Seat for more stories that explore the darker side of human nature while celebrating the strength of the human spirit. Share this video with someone who might need to hear a story of hope and recovery, and let us know in the comments what lessons you take away from Marcus's experience. Remember, even in our darkest moments, there is always a possibility for healing, justice, and new beginnings.